Okay, good. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Just let me know if you can't. Cool. Okay, so welcome to WordPress Sydney online for a change. So we'll try to bring this to you in some fashion, which is great. And so please bear with us. So this is kind of new technology that we're using. We're trying this new bit of software. So hopefully it'll work, and we'll just see. We'll just play it as along as things go. Okay, so a few things at first. Let me just add James in. So James as well is going to be he's one of the organizers and going to be one of the presenters for tonight. Just a few things first. We do have a competition, not really a competition, but we get a free voucher from JetBrains every month. So it's for developers and it's for their IDE. Let's see if I can find the slide here, this one. So any of the JetBrains vouchers, you can use that for 1 year, and you get to try any of their products for free for one year. So if you're a developer and you're looking for something, it might not be PHP, it could be JavaScript or Visual Basic or something else. Drop your name in the comments that you're looking for the voucher, and we'll do a little raffle offline, and we'll send the winner a voucher. So that'll be great. Also, as well, please join our community during this time. Everyone needs to kind of stick together. People are being forced at home, which is not great. So yeah, we want to try and be as big a community as we can, just helping each other online. So we've got our Facebook page. So there's the URL at the bottom there. If you look for WP Sydney, you'll find us there. We're on Twitter as well, with the hashtag WPSyd. We're also big members of the Slack community. So you'll probably find most of us on Slack all day. If you haven't joined Slack yet or don't quite know what it is, check out the link on wpaustralia.org/Slack. And that'll tell you how to sign up and get a username so you can then go in. And we've got very specific channels for us. So we've got a channel called WP Sydney. There's one for the WP Parramatta guys, and there's a general meetups as well. But there's heaps of channels in there, so you can talk about jobs and general stuff and plugins. So I definitely recommend joining the Slack community just so you can keep up to date with people there. And we're of course on YouTube, so we're broadcasting live on YouTube tonight, and that's our channel in the URL at the bottom there. And also, if you've got time, just take our survey. So there's a link to the survey, and we'll post these up on Facebook, and there'll be links as well online on the Meetup page. It's just your way of being able to tell us what sort of topics you'd like covered over the year, just so we can do a little bit of planning and bring those topics to you. So let's see. James, do you want to have anything to say before we jump into it?
No, I'm happy to go ahead.
All good. Okay. Let me just change up. Okay, to do this one. There we go. So tonight's topic is SEO for beginners. So I'm going to kick off with that. Just a real basic introduction to what SEO is, just in case those people who are new to it. Not everyone's at an advanced level. Some people are just beginning to create websites and not really understanding or getting to grasp over what SEO is and how it works with the big picture. So I'm going to go through this very basic presentation. So please, if you've got some comments, maybe leave them for the end, and I'll try and answer as many questions as you can before we jump on to James, he's going to go more into technical SEO and how you can set up that for WordPress and all the settings and things. So let's jump into this one. Okay, so what is SEO? So in basics terms, it's a process of getting traffic from the free organic search results in the major search engines. So that means trying to get your website as high up in the search results as possible. The higher up you are, the more traffic you get technically. So the people at the number 1 and number 2 position in Google in the organic results, they're the ones that are getting the most traffic, and it drops off exponentially as you go down the page. And page 2, well, you can pretty much forget it. So everyone wants to be number 1 for their preferred keyword or long tail key phrase. So keywords and key phrases, maybe about 10 years ago, you could choose one keyword. Maybe it was like SEO, maybe it was plumbing, Sydney, and stuff all those keywords into a website, and yeah, you pretty much guaranteed to be on Google. These days, that's pretty much gone. The results pages, they're tailored for yourself. They've got stuff in it. So a lot of the focus on SEO now is on long tail key phrase. And what we mean by that is maybe 3 or 4 words together. So we'll maybe go into that a little bit later. Let's have a look at what we mean by search engine results pages. So the search engine result pages, those are the pages you get back when you type in some keywords into Google. So here on the screen, you can see I did a result search on kitty litter last night when I was putting this together. And you can see that the results are a bit cluttered now. So a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, if you did a search for anything, you get the 10 links from the top to bottom, 1 to 10. And you know you'd be right at the top of the Google search. But nowadays, that's a little bit different. So let's have a look here on the slide. So at the top, you can see there's paid results. These are ads. So people have paid for those to come up in the top. You can see that the pictures at the top and the first one underneath the picture, they're both paid results. They're both ads. So we don't call those organic. We call those paid search. So you can see the first organic or free search result that's coming back is the one at the bottom of this screen scrape, the one that says buy cat litter online. So, and this is where what we're talking about for organic SEO. This is where you want to start coming up. The number 1, the number 2, the number 3 positions in the paid or organic results. This is what we're talking about tonight. But SEO is very, very hard nowadays. It's bloody hard. Just have a look at this one. I did flights to Gold Coast. Now, we can see we're not only competing with other companies that offer that particular service, we're actually now competing with Google themselves. It's called something like zero click. That's what it's called. This is where Google actually takes, or maybe we should say steals, content from websites and displays it at that top position. So we can see here you've got the paid results at the top, fly Sydney to Gold Coast. That's the Tiger Air one. But then you've got what's called a zero click or a featured snippet. And look how much screen real estate that's taken up. That's huge. And that's pushing all the organic results all the way down the page. Sometimes actually off the top of the screen, you've got to scroll to get the first organic link. So SEO is really, really difficult just now. So I don't want to put anyone under the illusion that, you just put a few keywords, write some nice articles, and you'll start appearing in Google. It's really, really difficult just now. So as I said, you're not just fighting with your competitors, you're starting to fight with Google now for screen real estate, which makes it even harder. Okay, so the Google search results, how does it actually display all those items? Well, nobody really knows. So we've learned that SEO is a process of trying to get Google to rank you higher on the search engine results. But how can you actually do that? Because nobody knows the secret sauce that Google is using to rank websites. But there's a few good indications. So let's have a look at some of these. Again, I don't know what exact factors, they're called signals, that Google use. However, many smarter people have conducted lots of tests, and they've tried to find out probabilities and which ones are likely to be the top ranking factors. So here's a list just now. Secure sites, HTTPS, that is a major ranking factor people are thinking now. Being mobile friendly, so the vast majority of searches now are done on mobile, so you have to make sure that your site is completely mobile friendly for hand devices and tablets. Website content, the quality and length as well. So when you're writing stuff, and we'll go into content a little bit later on, when you're writing stuff, it needs to be really, really good. And you've got to look at the length as well. If you have too much, then Google might not like it. If you got too short content, then there's not enough content there for Google to rank it. Another major factor they found is page loading speed. So the faster you can display your page, you can render your page, the more Google seems to prefer that over sites that are slower. Social signals, so that's stuff on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the social networks. If you're getting good engagement from that, then Google likes that. You can see that they can see that you are becoming an authority on the social network, so that will gain you better ranking for the website that's associated with those social networks. Optimized images, and that goes with page loading speed. So you want images that are really fast to load, optimized completely. And also domain age as well, and user experience. So domain age is the age that you've had your domain for. So you might have had your domain for 10 years, 15 years, and that's going to count well for you, as opposed to a domain name you've just bought up recently. It's going to have a not as much ranking factor in Google because it's not as trusted yet. User experience as well, and that's the way that people can navigate through your website. You'll find if you install Google Analytics, they can show you, Google can show you how people traverse your website. And they're measuring that all the time. So they're looking at how easy it is for people to get at that content through your site. So if you make it difficult for people, and Google can see people are dropping out here and there, then that's been shown as a ranking factor that can affect your ranking. And I missed out one, quality backlinks as well. So you've got to be backlink building. Links are really important. If you're just writing all the stuff down on your own website and not linking out to other people, and people are not linking to you, then that is a very big ranking factor that people have figured out so far. So those are not all the signals. They're just the kind of the top ones that seem to be prevalent at the moment. But please bear in mind that Google, they push out updates all the time. Some very small and some very big. So that list could change overnight. We just don't know. We don't have any control over how Google does that. And I could speak for ages just on each one of these topics, but this is a beginner's guide tonight. So just bear in mind that SEO, it's a lengthy process, and you will have to touch on all these aspects and more. So I'm just going to look at a few things that you can easily achieve, primarily around content. Okay, so what are the three core elements of SEO? What are we talking about? Well, there's a technical SEO, and that's what James is going to cover later on tonight. There's actual content, that's the words and the pictures, the videos on your posts and pages. And there's also links. So links from other websites back to your own website. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on content tonight. People are asking for some questions. So how much is domain age a factor? We really don't know. We don't know the specifics. Those ones that I've shown, we can say those are what we can maybe call core signals. But as far as how much each signal weighs, we just really don't know. It's all internal and hidden and private to Google. Schema. Someone's asking about schema. Yes, that's very important. So when I was going over the second search results with the flights, and you can see that snippet here. I'll just go back. Ding, ding, ding. That one here. So it says flights from Sydney to Gold Coast. That's a schema. That's a rich snippet. There's lots of different types. You can have snippets for meetings, events, recipes, what else? Videos. And it's a way of telling Google what type of content that they're looking at. So if you do lots of video blogging and you embed those on your website, make sure you've got a video schema. And that tells Google that that's a video piece of content rather than having to work it out all for its own. Another quick question, Google My Business. Yes, Google My Business. It's slightly different. That's more for bricks and mortar companies. So if you're a bricks and mortar shop front, then yeah, you want to have your Google My Business listing and have that all set up properly. And that's another way for people to find you, especially when they're doing what's called local searches. So that's where Google pins people on the map. So those are great questions, guys. Thank you. Let's get back to this one. So technical, content, and links. So let's have a look at content. Okay, so we'll focus a little bit on content tonight. So again, smarter people than me are saying that Google is looking for more relevant and humanized content. So what does that even mean, humanized? Well, let's take a step back 10 years ago. There's lots of people who, when you're creating a website, you just stuffed lots of keywords in there. So plumbing Sydney, plumbing Melbourne, plumbing Brisbane, plumbing all the suburbs. And Google would come across, it would find those keywords and go, oh, okay, you're associated with all these things. I'll display that. But Google are getting a lot wiser now. They've got lots of algorithms out there. They're using AI. And they're really not so much bothered about the content that you're producing. They're bothered about how people are going to get answers to the questions and the search results that they're typing in. So they've got AI programs running in the background and they're scanning your website all the time. They want you to write content almost as if you were chatting to somebody online, on one-to-one. So that's where content is going just now. If you're writing an article, that's great. And if it's very specific, that's good. But the way it's moving now is more human-like conversation. So imagine if someone was asking you a question, just say you're having a coffee with them, and they were asking you about kitty litter. Let's go with kitty litter. So naturally as possible. So SEO copywriting, what is it? Well, our good friend Kate Toon, she said this many times in her presentations, and it's true. Copywriting, SEO copywriting, it helps us target relevant customers and solve their specific problems with well-crafted content. So what does that mean? Okay, well, yeah, sorry about the losing sign. Can everyone hear me just now? I think we're back online. Okay, sound is back. Dropped out for a bit. That's okay. Well, I'm back. So just to reiterate, we're basically talking about writing as a human. So you can't write just factual articles now. Try and write as if you're a human person, having a conversation with someone one-to-one. So we're talking about the kitty litter thing. If someone's asking about what's the best kitty litter, I've just got a new cat, or I'm thinking about getting a cat, then you go into a story about your own cat and what different brands of kitty litter you've tried, which ones were rubbish, which ones stunk, and where the best position to put the litter tray, all that sort of stuff. That's how you want to write. You want to write one-to-one as if you're talking to another person and answering their question that way, not just like a robot. Okay, so SEO copywriting. It's all about your customers and what they are looking for. Okay? So you really need to find out what your customers are looking for, what your customers are looking for, and try to give them that and give it to them fast. So people nowadays have got a lower attention span. Actually, someone said to me, or I heard a quote recently, I think it was Neil Patel in one of his videos. He said that humans now have a smaller attention span than a goldfish. And I think that's probably true. So you really need to be grabbing their attention and getting to the point very, very quickly in your copy. So we're talking about, in the first title and the first couple of paragraphs, you need to get to the point, tell them what it is, tell them why they're here, answer the question, and then you can go into more detail afterwards. So you need to know what topics people are searching for. You need to know the type of content as well that your customers are looking for, and what problems do they have. And then you need to write an article that grabs that particular traffic. So your content, your posts, they need to be super, super awesome. In fact, they need to be better than the articles at the number 1, 2, and 3 spots combined for the search results for that particular topic, if you want to start ranking well in those results. It needs to be that freaking good. So how do you win at SEO copywriting? We've got a question here. Conversational content versus getting to the point. Aren't these contradictory? I wouldn't think so. You can still get to the point in a way that you explain to somebody on a one-to-one basis, I think. As long as it doesn't sound like you've copy and paste stuff, from text documents and books in to make a post. It needs to be conversational, it needs to flow. I think that's the main point. It needs to flow as if you're actually just telling somebody rather than them just reading a bit of prose. But that's a great question. So matching your content to potential customers. This is what it's all about now. That's called search intentions. So in the last slide, we covered that you should be researching the topics and the content that your customers were looking for. But search intent is how they go about searching for content on those topics. What are they actually typing into the search engine to get those results they're looking for? So we want to be able to match our copy, our posts and our pages to the intent. That's the end result of what people are looking for, because that's what Google is looking for. Google is looking to match the best content for the final result that people are searching for, the final intent. Because some people can go through 2 or 3 searches. They can type in a few keywords and they get some results. It's not quite right. So then they'll revise that and then revise that until they get the end intention that they wanted to do. So that's what we really need to try and look for. So there's basically 4 types of keyword intent that people are trying to do online for search. It's navigational intent. So that's where they're looking for a specific website or brand. There's informational intent. So they're basically looking for an answer to a question. There's investigational intent, which is a little bit different from informational intent. So the investigational is when people are looking for specifics. So they might be looking to buy something and they're in research mode. So looking for specifics on something, not just an answer to a question. And transactional intent. So that's where you're looking to buy goods. So here I've kind of listed some keywords. So when you're doing your research, when you're looking at the keywords and the key phrases that your target audience might be engaged in, you want to have a look at the types of keywords that they're using within that for intent. So here's some example keywords. So under navigational, we've got keywords such as using a brand name. So that could be like Nike, Adidas, Kleenex, Quilton in these current times. They might be using keywords such as find, where, or log in. So they're looking to go somewhere. Okay. The informational ones, you'll usually see keywords such as tips on, a buyer's guide to, how to do this, instructions on, and curry recipe. All those sort of types of intentional keywords would be classed as informational intent. So then you can guide your content towards that particular intent. You know, if people are looking for how-to guides, and then within your audience, then you can then tailor your content to maybe more how-to type guides rather than other ones. Investigational, so they're going to use keywords such as review, testimonials, comparison, vice versa. So they're doing research. They're going to compare one product with another, one service with another, and looking for trust, looking for reviews, looking for other people that's written that to testimonials. So if that's important to your target audience, if your target audience are looking for that particular stuff, then yeah, your content should be, your SEO, your copywriting should be including that type of content. And again, transactional, that's just buying stuff. So again, buy, price, registrations, subscriptions, contact, and specific product names. So that's a great way of understanding the intent of your target audience. What are they looking for? And I've got a link down below that you can have a look at more detail around that. But this is a beginner's guide, so we'll just kind of keep it a little bit simple just now. And these slides will be available, and you'll be able to see the slides from the YouTube, but we'll make them available on Facebook and the Meetup page as well. Okay, so how do you actually go about finding these phrases? Well, a great way of doing that is to use Google itself. It's free. So you probably all know that if you type in a keyword at the top of Google, before you press return, you actually get some drop down and some suggestions. And these are the suggestions that Google is finding that other people are using. So they're relevant. So if you're looking for target keywords and key phrases within your defined audience, type some in and see what Google is saying that other people are searching for. It's a fantastic way to try and get some free terms that you can then focus your content around. Another great resource is this one, answerthepublic.com. I'll see if I've got one here. This is a free website. It's got paid plan as well, but you can get so much information out of this one website. It used to have a grumpy old guy as an animation from the start. I loved that, but they seem to have replaced it with this younger fellow. I really wish they'd bring the grumpy old guy back, because he was amazing. But I'll see if I can share a tab with you, because I opened a search. So let me just drop this out just now and share my screen again. Chrome tab, and let's see this one. Let's see if this works. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so from this one, can everyone see that okay? I'm just looking at the stream to my right-hand side to make sure that that's working okay. That looks all right. Okay, so when you type in your result, give it a few minutes, and it calculates all these different types of questions that people are asking. And this is awesome research, and it's free. So this one here, you can see that I typed in a search result for kitty litter, and it comes up with all these different intentions. So the how, can, will, where, when, who, which, why, what, and are. And it gives you all these top questions that people are asking. So if you were selling kitty litter online shop, here's all the phrases that people are asking about kitty litter. There's hundreds of them there. If you can start using these phrases, these intentions to base your content on, that's gold mine, because that's what people are actually asking just now. Let's have a look at one. How kitty litter is made. Maybe that's not too relevant. What kitty litter to use after declawing. What kitty litter is safe for rabbits? I don't know why I'd use kitty litter for rabbits, but you know, these are all search terms that people are looking for in Google. So this is absolute gold. So if you're doing your research, you're doing your SEO content, have a look at here and just match your content with what people are asking Google. Here's some prepositions as well. So is, with, without, to, near, for, and can. Here's a good one. Kitty litter You can flush. So the stuff that you can put down the toilet. Kitty litter for ice. That's a bit of fun. Strange one. Kitty litter with Febreze. You know, that stinky kitty litter. So again, these are stuff that people are actually searching in Google right now. So if you want to start ranking with SEO, then you want to start creating this content here to match people's search intentions. Okay. I'll get rid of that one. Here is one about versus, so pros and cons. So versus kitty litter or salt, kitty litter or oil dry, kitty litter or pellets. So again, these are the different intentions that people are looking for. And there's a related one as well, which is quite useful, and that might give you some different alternatives to go and to try and get some other content. Kitty litter tray Kmart, kitty litter crystal. So again, just looking a little bit outside the box. But again, this is all free information, and it's just fantastic stuff that you actually want. Where's that research available? That research, it's a website called answerthepublic.com. And yes, it is geo-targeted. You can choose what city. So I did that search for Australia. But if you've got customers in different countries, you can find out what their search results are, and it's all direct stuff from Google itself. Like that. Okay. So we're getting near the end. I'll just share this presentation again. This one. Yeah, that one. There we go. Okay, so let's just wrap up some of the stuff that we covered tonight, just with some general SEO copywriting tips. So when you're writing your articles, make sure that your headline matches the content. I've seen quite a lot of times where you read somebody's blog and you maybe get two or three paragraphs in, and you're like, well, that's not really what I came here. That's not really what the title says. So when you're writing your content, have a good headline, but when you finish your content, reread it and make sure that title, your headline, matches the content that you're writing. It's very important. Otherwise, Google's going to find a mismatch, a discourse between the two. Write in a conversational tone that incorporates all your keywords. So again, we're seeing now that Google is favoring content that is written as you would be talking to a person. And this again is, we're starting to think more about the way that people are searching. And voice search is becoming a huge thing just now. And again, that's more conversation. We don't ask our Google or our Alexas for, kitty litter, Sydney, get, buy. It doesn't understand that. So you'd ask an actual question and you'd expect a good response from that. So please, when you're writing your content, write it in a conversational tone that it does incorporate your keywords, but it flows naturally. You want to increase your readability as well by using those subheadlines. So use your header 2s, your header 3s, and to break up the content. And that allows Google to see how your content is structured as well. Use bullets to convey information rather than a long-winded information if you want that, if you want conciseness. And deal with short paragraphs or even single sentences as well, so that it's easy for people to read. And again, all this feeds into these Google signals, especially things like time on page. So if you're finding that some of your content people are bailing out after a few seconds, then it could be that it's not easy to read. It could be that it's mismatched with the header, but it could also be, well, it's just too much, or you're not getting to the point quickly enough. So again, you can use these measures to help with your SEO when you're writing. Next one. Use power words. Power words are great, like, brilliant, awesome, magical. So try and use those power words to convey some force. That people have found that using these power words can really engage with people and get them to help read the content, and then maybe take some take some action as well. So this is very relevant, especially on landing pages. And try to use an active voice rather than passive. So rather than stuff in the past, try to use an active voice that is helping people to understand what they can do right now and the actions that they can take right now. Use related keywords, of course, otherwise it's not going to make sense for Google. But try synonyms as well. There's some great synonym generators and lookups online. So don't just try stuff in the same keyword in your article all the time. Use synonyms, different types of variances for that keyword to cover, to still target that key phrase, but not just keyword stuff it all the time. Links are important. I'm not going to go into link building because it's a kind of separate topic. But yeah, links are very important. Internal links and external. So don't forget to link to your own content within your website as long as it's relevant. So you should really be trying to link to one or two previous articles that you've written to build up your internal link reference. And that allows people to flow through your website. But of course, external content as well. If it's relevant, then yeah, please link to an external content. You don't have to have that indexed within your website if you don't want the ranking factors. And you can use things like nofollow, and that tells Google, okay, I want to link to this external content, but don't judge it in my ranking factor, please. And last one I've put down is meta descriptions and image alt text. Now, there's been a lot of talk about these not being as important now, but I think they still are. I still think they're still relevant. Meta descriptions, so that's what comes up in the search results. So that's the description underneath the title of your page. So I think that's still relevant. So you should still pay some good SEO love to a really good description that catches people's eye and relevance. And image text as well. Again, it's a different way that you can incorporate your keywords. If your service or products are very visual based, then you definitely want to pay good SEO attention and get some really good keywords and copy into the image alt text as well, because there's a lot of search that's done with photos. So yeah, that could help you come up higher on the Google image search as well. Okay, so that was a very, very quick overview of SEO. There's lots of things I could have jumped into, but I've tried to just be a kind of very beginner's type guide to it. And we can maybe visit some more stuff in depth, maybe in another meetup online further in the year. So those are the links for stuff. That's me. So I've been a WordPress developer since 2008. I'm a consultant and a developer. I organize events like this one. I do some speaking as well, and I've got a couple of websites and a few more online. I'd love for you to connect with me. The little QR code at the bottom is for LinkedIn. So please hit me up on LinkedIn and leave a note as well. Don't just say, oh yeah, I want to connect with a person. Just say, oh, I watched your presentation, on Wednesday. I'd love to connect, that sort of thing, because yeah, I think it's great when people actually give a reason to connect rather than just connect with them. And I'm on Twitter as well, at Developer Wil. You guys are welcome to send questions and stuff there, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But yeah, please do connect with me. I'm going to do a little Q&A, maybe for 5 minutes. There's some here at the moment, and then I'll get James to jump in and do his one. So let's have a look at this one. No, not that one. This one. Okay, so conversational tone uses stop words. Aren't we meant not to use stop words, or is this old now? The way that Google is ranking content changes so much now. I mean, as I said, they have big updates. There's one recently, and then they roll out all these smaller search updates. But I think as a general, it is moving more towards conversational. Yes, I wouldn't use a lot of stop words. I'd try and minimize those, and you can probably minimize those by jumping into an active voice or jumping into an example of what somebody could do rather than telling them what not to do. So rather than use the stop words, try and turn it around and try and use active words. Yeah, Is it old now? I don't think so. I think as long as you've got a good flow to your content, I think that's the real important thing just now. Just humanize the content, make it readable, make it as if someone was you were actually talking to somebody over coffee. So thanks, Cassandra. That was great. Mike, can you use accordion content setup? Yes, you can. I think it's a great way of condensing information. Google will see it no differently than bullet point lists. So when Google scrapes your website, it's just looking at it from top to bottom mostly. They're getting a bit better with looking at the flow. But yeah, definitely you can use accordions to condense that information. So I definitely do that. I use quite a few accordions in my content as well. Let's see. Stop words. What are stop words? Let's just have a look. Grab that one. Okay. Stop words are things like is, and, the, but. So it's when you're talking about something and then it's kind of stopping the flow of the conversation. But I think people use them in normal conversation. So I wouldn't be too bothered. I think if you're writing about that conversationally in a post or content, I think that's absolutely fine. Just don't litter your post with buts and ands all the time. Great question though. Let's see, who else? Yep, Joey, thanks for that. That's great. Okay, any other questions out there just now? If you don't have any more questions, then I might jump over to James. No?
I'm pretty much ready to go.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much, and I will leave you in the safe hands of James.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. Did that present properly? Can you all see that? Okay. So I just wanted to go over the basics of technical SEO. Now, technical SEO is a bit of a can of worms, I suppose. It can get very complex very quickly, but there are lots of basics and they're pretty easy to master. So what I'm going to do is just go over 5 or 6 different, I guess, basic technical SEO ranking factors, and then I've got some advanced ones, and then I'm going to do a live demo. So I guess the first technical SEO basics that I, through my experience and research, have found is these. So the first one is, it needs to load fast and be mobile optimized. If you have a site that's position 10 for a certain keyword, and that page is taking forever to load, pretty much 10 seconds, 12 seconds, maybe sometimes 20 seconds I've seen, then that kind of just restricts its ability to be able to compete in the top 3 or even on the first page. And then it also, increases conversion rate and all these other things as well. With mobile optimized, so Google is now, as of a couple months to a year ago, started switching over to mobile first optimization, indexing. So what they do is they crawl your website like it's a mobile device. So that means that it's on a 3G connection, it's on a smaller screen, and it tests your website to see how does it perform on a mobile device rather than a desktop device. The next is visible to search engines. So, if you have this great website, it's super fast, it's secure, there's no errors, but it's not visible to search engines, and Google can't come along and say, hey, I'm going to crawl this website and index it, then you have big problems. So I'll show you how to fix that in my demo. Link structure and sitemap. So that's more on that later, but that's basically just organizing your website into folders so that it is easy for Google to understand and easy for people to understand. Now this one might be an obvious one, but I see it quite a lot. Duplicate content. So you shouldn't have one page that has the exact same content as another page on your website, or even another page on someone else's website. No on-page errors, so I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. But basically, there's no errors generated when the page is trying to load, and your site is secure. So I do have a list of, I guess, advanced SEO topics. I won't go into these at all, but I think they're a bit more for the advanced user, and you can Google them if you want to learn more about them. And these slides will be available later. So on to the first one. So when a website when you make a website, it's a bit hard to see, how fast is this actually loading? So I use a tool called GTmetrix, and GTmetrix is fantastic. It shows the speed of the site, the page size, and it shows how many links the page is requesting to load that page. So it could be like a font. Maybe you have a Google font, and then that's a link. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you in the demo later. I use the plugin WP Rocket and the service, which is free, Cloudflare, and that really helps with getting that page speed down. This is a website where you can compress your images. So you just drag it in and click download, and then it will go from maybe 2 or 3 megabytes to 10 to 100 kilobytes. I wouldn't really recommend having a single image over 100 kilobytes. If you can get it onto 100 kilobytes and less, that's the best. And again, I'll go through these in a second in the demo. So we're going to make sure that the website is visible to search engines and it's indexed. So a really cool tip is you can just type in site : and then your domain name, so whatever your site is, mysite.com. And what that does is that shows you every page that Google has indexed and is available, because Google sometimes doesn't always index your site, and you might have a new page and it might take 2 or 3 weeks before it shows up on Google. So that's a good way to check and see, if your site has 400 or 500 pages and there's only 10 or less or however many indexed, then there's some investigation needed there. Next is link structure and sitemap. So what I mean by that is that your links should follow a structure. So you have your homepage, mysite.com, and then you have mysite.com/products, and maybe that shows a category of products, or you have mysite.com/category, and that shows a bunch of categories. And then you have /product/product product-name. And it just follows a structure so that it's very clear that what page is from which part of the website. So it could be a product, or it could be a category. It could be a blog post, so that could be /blog, /blog name, and then blog category. So there's lots of different applications. It just needs to make sense. Common sense is the winner there. Now, you can use Yoast, or I prefer SEO Press, to generate an XML sitemap. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. It kind of does it for you, but I'll show you in the demo. So, as I said, I prefer SEO Press. I don't get paid to say this. It's just I've used Yoast for so long, and then kind of got annoyed with all of their advertisements to upgrade to their very expensive premium version. And SEO Press is, a fraction of the cost. It has all the features of Yoast Premium and all of them. I think it's $39 a month, so it's really good. So I'm just going to go over a few screens, and then I'll show you in a live demo of the website itself. So when you first install SEO Press, it comes up with a wizard, and it just steps you through pretty much everything you need to get started and have your website ready to go. It also shows this really cool notification dashboard in the settings. And basically it's like, these are the things that we think that you need to do. And it shows, high impact, low impact, and it's really good. It's also very clear with what features you can turn on and off, because it has Google Analytics tracking inside, and if you use another plugin for that, you can just turn that off. I'd recommend turning on titles and meta, XML image and sitemaps, and Open Graph for social networks. They're kind of the three that are the most important. So when you go in and set up your SEO Press plugin to essentially say, hey, Google, this is what my site is about, and be very transparent with that. There's quite a few settings, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's pretty easy because you don't really have to configure much of it. It's pretty much already done for you. The only thing you really need to make sure is that your sitemap is turned on. But you can change your site title. You can change the separator. So as Will was saying earlier, in the search results pages, you've got the page name and then maybe a dash and then the site name. So that's where you can change that. It's got a setting screen for turning on your sitemap, and you can click view your sitemap, and it's really cool. One thing I'd note here is that if you're using a page builder, maybe you're using Elementor, Divi, Beaver Builder, it often has its own templates, I guess, and often Yoast and SEO Press and all of them put that in your sitemap for indexation. So one thing that I really like to do is I go into this screen here and click on post types and taxonomies, which I'll show you in the demo, and you can turn those off. So you can turn off, and some themes also come with like a portfolio just built in, and even if you don't use it. So it's really good to make sure to turn those off. So you're not putting unnecessary things in your sitemap, and Google is crawling them and wasting crawl space for your actual content that you want them to see. Lets you set up like Open Graph. So I don't know if you've Googled, I'll use their example in that name organization, Apple. It shows up with like Apple's website in organic and a few other things below that. But on the right-hand side, it comes up with like Apple was founded in 1970 or whatever. It has a picture of their logo and some products and the phone number. So that knowledge graph kind of just says to Google, here you go, you can use this for a knowledge graph if you're popular enough to have one. That seems like a duplicate slide. Now on the actual page, so this could be your home page, it could be a product page, it could be a service page or a contact page. SEO Press and Yoast, it's pretty much exactly the same, has your meta information, so your meta box settings. And what that does is it lets you individually control at a page level what you want Google to show your site as in the search results. So you can change the title, you can change the description, you can do a few other things as well there under social. So you can have like I want this image to show up when I paste this link in Facebook, and Facebook generates like a nice little box for that. You can say I want this image and this text to show up different to the search engine. So it's really cool. Content analysis, my image didn't work for some reason. And then there's a bunch of other settings, which I guess are a bit more advanced. You don't, I hardly even touch these. You don't really need to worry about them unless you have some sort of problem. Okay, so that was the end of my slides. I'm going to do I haven't seen if anyone's asking questions, just because I was in full screen mode. So I'll just go in and show you an example site. So I'm going to use Kleenex and just show you a bit of what I meant with site loading speed and things like that. So let's go back to Kleenex's site. Can everyone see that okay? Yep, good. So Kleenex, their site, it's pretty nice looking, straightforward. They've got a menu at the top. They're popular products, I guess, and a few other things in their footer. But let's have a look. And the way to open this up is you go right-click, inspect. And what that does is that opens up a window at the bottom, and it shows you your code for the site, the HTML and the CSS. So when I said that has no page errors before, what I meant by that is if you come in here and you can see, there's a bunch of errors and warnings, and they can be quite problematic. I was doing a case study recently on an Australian fashion site last week. Had to do like a practical exercise because I'm getting a job. I can't mention who it was, but their site had so many JavaScript errors, and it was on Shopify too. Like people think, oh, Shopify, it's great because it's pretty straightforward and I don't really have to do any work. It's all done for me, but there's still quite a lot of issues that I've seen. And so they had their site had so many JavaScript errors that when you turned off JavaScript, so maybe for like a mobile index crawler, I'm not really sure on that one if they use JavaScript on that, but if you turn off JavaScript, then the HTML disappeared. So there's literally a blank screen, and they were wondering, why is our site? What's happening to our site? And so you've got to be careful with that to make sure there's no JavaScript errors, and that's something you'd contact like your web developer to fix. Or maybe if on WordPress you were using a bad theme, maybe like a theme forest theme, which some of the code quality is a little bit questionable. You can have issues like that. So I'd be careful with that. But all you need to do is come into here and go, okay, I've got 2 errors and 10 warnings. What are these errors? Mr. Developer, can you please have a look at that and work that out to see if it's a big problem or they're just warnings and they're not really an issue. Now, I mentioned a really good tool is GTmetrix. So GTmetrix, essentially, you put in the link. It can be for I'll just answer the question before I move on, sorry. I can't click on it to show up on the screen, but the question was, how can you avoid a JavaScript error? It's usually up to your code of your website and your theme. So I would just look at maybe changing themes if you're using like a free theme from WordPress.org or a theme forest theme, they often have the problems, as I mentioned earlier. So I'd talk to your developer about that. So going back to GTmetrix, so the first thing, it kind of looks a bit overwhelming at first. It draws your attention to this page speed score, which Clinics have got an F grade, 48% out of 100, and a Y slow of 74. The best one is 100% for both, and an A. Unfortunately, it's not very common, and only the good sites who really pay attention to this will have good technical SEO. But I am focused more on the right-hand side here where it says page details. So this is telling me 3 bits of information. How long the site took to fully load, which was 4.9 seconds. The total page size in megabytes, which was 4.4 megabytes. So it's a big page. Under 1 megabyte would be the most ideal, but it's not really going to kill you if it's 1 to 2 megabytes. That's okay, unless you're in a super competitive environment. And the amount of requests, so requests are, links to Google Fonts or links to download an image, etc. That's good. 41's not too bad. I think most unoptimized WordPress sites will end up at about 80 to 120. So 40 is not bad, but it could be definitely improved. With lots of optimizations, you could bring that down to maybe 10 or 15, and that's a lot better. So if we scroll down on GTmetrix, you can probably hear the kookaburras outside. Sorry about that. So if we scroll down to the recommendations, it tells you, exactly this is the problem and this is what you need to do to fix it. So if we look at serve scaled images, they're saying that there's 3 images that are resized when the page is loaded. So you haven't uploaded, let's go back to Clinics' site for a second. So these 3 images here, the image, it's saying that, I don't know if these are the actual images that it's talking about, but it could be. These images take up a size of about maybe 150 pixels, 200 pixels wide and 200 pixels high, maybe 300, not sure exactly. But the actual size of the image is maybe 1200 by 1200 pixels. And when the page loads, it reduces them and fits it into that box when someone types in your website and loads the website. So what that's saying is that you should upload the image at the size that it's going to be displayed at, and then you don't have any an extra loading time for it to resize the image for you. So moving on, so optimize images. That's more about image size. So it's saying we could save 261 kilobytes on these 9 or 10 images, which is a 19% reduction. And as I said, that tool, squoosh.app, I'll just go to the site for you. .app. Literally I'll just use one of their example ones. Just drag it in, and then it will open up the image like this. And then you can adjust the quality until you see the image. Let's say if we display the image at this size, we can't really see the difference from the left side is the original and the right side is the new one. And you can see just by reducing the quality only, and you can't tell the difference by dropping it to maybe 60, we've gone from 2.79 megabytes to 635 kilobytes on the right-hand side here, which is a 77% reduction. And that's not even taking into account width. So 3,800 pixels wide by 2,592 pixels high is huge. Most desktop sizes would be smaller than that. As a general rule, I make for a full width image on a site, I make the size. So when I say full width, I mean from left to right. I make the size about 1,000 pixels to 1,200 pixels. That usually fits most sites, and height, whatever height you want it to be. So if we then reduce this to 1,200, which it maintains the aspect ratio, which is 800 high, and then let that sit for a second, then it goes down to 92.7 kilobytes, which is a 97% reduction. And I can't even tell the difference. It looks perfect to me. If we blow that up, maybe you'll see the difference. So you can see it gets a bit blurry when you blow it up, but it doesn't matter because the image will never be that size on your website. So that's why it's cool. Just to answer a few photos. So what is this tool? This is squish.app. It's just it's a free website, and I think it's owned by Google now. They bought it a while back, but they just haven't said anything about it or gone public with it. But it's a fantastic tool. I've never seen compression like this even with Photoshop. I'll resize it in Photoshop and then put it through this again, and it will just compress it so small. It's really good. Is it possible to use Squish video or photos? It doesn't do videos, it just does photos. If you don't upload bigger images, bigger dimensions and display size, images look pixelated on a Retina display. Yeah, that's another, I guess, more of a complex answer. Sometimes you can have a second image that loads only for Retina users, or like maybe for graphics, you can use an SVG, which will just infinitely scroll. But I would just, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you wanted to just go for the Retina image already, and then you're covered for the small one. I guess it depends on the page that you're talking about. If your page has a lot of images, then it'd be harder to decide if I want to have that or not, or do I want to support Retina users. But yeah, I wouldn't. For most sites, there's only 1 or 2, 3 images on a page, so I would just. You can afford to have that. So how do you manage it in WordPress when it creates multiple sized versions anyway? So often that when WordPress indexes an image, and Will, you might know more about this, but it creates different sizes. Just for everyone who doesn't know, when you upload an image, it actually duplicates it into 3 or 4 different images at different sizes. It depends on your theme. So let's say your theme is and on your page builder, so you could be using Gutenberg. It has the option of changing it to the smaller one, but the reason, they're kind of locked to set sizes, and no page on the website is the same. So I upload the full size image as the smallest it can possibly be, and then I don't worry about the smaller sizes. I just always use the full size, if that makes sense. Okay, so you can see that the biggest problem with this site is images, and we can tell because the page size is 4.4 megabytes, and that's usually because of an image. I don't know how many words of text 4.4 megabytes is, but it'd be a lot, thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands maybe. It usually relates to images, and this kind of just gives you an overview on a page per page basis. And a common one that you'll see is on your own sites would be leverage browser caching. The best way to turn that on is just to use something like Cloudflare, and you can just flick a switch and then it fixes it all for you. Now, a lot of the other stuff, such as which Kleenex is doing right, they've got enable compression, minify HTML, minify CSS, minify JavaScript. That just means that all of your code and compression, etc., all of your code is compressed into one file instead of 7 different files for your CSS and 7 different files for your HTML, etc. So it just compresses it and minifies it into one file for each. It's a really good way to do that. And as I said in my slides, WP Rocket, where is it? WP Rocket is really good for that. And you can just flick a switch and turn it on. One thing to be careful with is when you're, I guess, using WP Rocket and turning on like CSS minification, CSS compression, HTML, JavaScript, often your site might break, and like you can load the site and it will have JavaScript errors and things. So what I do is I turn on the least aggressive things first, and WP Rocket walks you through it. It's really good. And then start turning on more aggressive compression like JavaScript and HTML, and just go back to the site, give it a refresh. Does it still work? Great. Move on to the next one and just go through the WP Rockets list. But that's a topic for another talk. And then, as I mentioned, Cloudflare, the free tool, that turns on your browser caching. So next, so we've covered page speed. Why slow? So again, most people probably don't know what any of this means. I know I didn't when I first started, but for the most part, WP Rocket and Cloudflare will get most of them, and you can get an A score just by clicking boxes and turning it on. And WordPress is good for that. For your own custom sites and like Wix sites and Shopify sites, you don't really have much control over that unless you're using the enterprise versions. Now let's move on to requests. So requests is the last one, and that's probably has the least amount of attention from even a lot of SEOs. So requests, as you can see here, these are all of my requests, and this kind of might be a bit daunting to look at, but all it is, it's every part of the page has to be loaded from somewhere. So you can see, first it starts with the initial request, and this is specific only to Clinex's site. Then it loads a bunch of JavaScript, which seems to be all minified and compressed already, which, as we saw back in the page speed, they were good at doing that, so they got an A score for most of that. And let's go back. Now, this is where we start to get into images. So let's see if we can find an image. There's one. So there's an image of flowers, and you can see that this image specifically took, lost it, there it is, 428 milliseconds to load. And that image is 713 kilobytes. So if we run that image, so as I said, no image should be over 100 kilobytes. So if we run that image through Squish, we could probably get it down to 50 or 100. And that time, 428 milliseconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, it's half a second, could maybe drop to 10 milliseconds. And just working through each one individually, and overall your page speed will decrease. So yeah, I guess that's kind of it for requests. Maybe the other thing I wanted to mention is fonts and icons. So Clinex are using Font Awesome. I don't know if you've heard of Font Awesome, but essentially it's an icon font of different icons, and they're built into most page builders. So they're using Font Awesome Solid, Font Awesome Brands, Font Awesome Solid, and Font Awesome Brands at different, so 400, 900, that means how bold it is. And you can see this one, Font Awesome Solid 900, is taking almost a whole second to load. So you could shave a whole second off your site just by combining all of these files, which is more of an advanced technique. But I would focus on images first for basics. So that kind of ends the speed section of that. Let's jump into a site that just a demo site that I run. Actually, I'll check for questions first. Seems to be about images still, but Will's answering all of those. Okay, so this is a WordPress site that I've set up, and I've got 0 plugins currently enabled. So it's essentially a bare site. There's nothing happening. You can see from the homepage, it's a blank site. There's nothing happening there. And what I'm going to do is just install or activate SEO Press. There it is. Needs an update, but that's for another time. So once we activate SEO Press, we get a new menu item on the left-hand side. Let's go to our dashboard. So it's saying there's a few things that I haven't done on this demo site, and varying impacts. So the biggest one that I would see, because this is a demo site, it's not live on the internet, but it's saying that my site isn't visible to search engines. So that's going back to my crawlability. So if I type in, let's just test this out. Let's go site, in my domain name. So it says there's this site isn't indexed because there's no results here. And just as an example, I'll do the Kleenex one, just so you can see what that looks like. There we go. So on kleenex.com.au, there's 51 pages that Google has indexed, which seems about right from looking at their site. They didn't really have too many menu items. And you can even do a specific page. So if you wanted to test, let's say you make a new blog post and you're wondering why haven't I made $1 million from my blog post yet? So you can go to a specific page and just run that through like that. You can say, here we go, it has indexed it. It's really cool tool to do that. Okay, so it's saying, your site is not visible to search engines, high impact, fix this. What does that mean? Well, if you notice when I went to the dashboard of my site, it says search engines discouraged. So I've set in the WordPress settings, and I've said, please don't index this site. So if you go to settings, reading, which is nothing to do with any SEO plugins, that's built into WordPress, then you can make sure that's unticked and then save, and then Google will start to index your site. For a development site or a demo site like this that's not live on the internet, it's good to keep it ticked until you go live. I've seen quite a few SEO projects where they've spent a long time building the site and then even more time optimizing the site, making it fast, having good content, as Will was talking about. And they go live, and then a few weeks pass, a few months pass, and they're like, I've seen it a few months past. And they're wondering, why haven't we made our money yet? Well, it's often because they've left this box ticked. So make sure you untick that one when you go live. So let's go back into SEO Press. So there's a few other things there, but I'll just ignore them for now. And we'll get to the beef of this plugin. So there's quite a few different things that SEO Press does. As I mentioned earlier, just focus on the main three. So titles and meta, XML image, video sitemaps, and Open Graph, which really you probably don't even need to worry about Open Graph and Twitter cards, but they're really good for sharing your website on Facebook or in Slack or something like that. It's a good way to do that. So let's jump into the first one. Now, you'll notice it just says %, site title, %. That's automatically generated. So if you go into General, in WordPress settings, site title, it just takes it from there. So you don't have to write it every time. Separator, now in the search engine results page, often there's not really that much space available. And most sites usually have a dash like that, but I recommend using the pipe symbol because it takes up less space and you can fit your full site title and your page name in. Now you can change this. So as I was talking about with your sitemap, you can choose what you want SEO Press or Yoast or whatever plugin you're using, SEO plugin you're using. You can choose what you want them to put in the sitemap that says to Google, hey, index this. And you can turn it off by saying, so as I said, let me just turn on a page builder just so you can see. So now Beaver Builder's turned on. Let's go back into that. And now you'll notice that it's got templates. What's templates there? I just use them for designing my website. So you need to go in here and make sure that you've ticked no index so that it doesn't show up in your sitemap. So let's have a look at the sitemap. And you can do the same for categories and archives and taxonomies, which is product category, blog category, or tags, post tag, product tags, etc. So just go in and make sure and maybe you're having trouble visualizing this. So let's just go in and hopefully my sitemap doesn't have an error because it's on a staging server. Great, it doesn't. So it's saying in my sitemap, I've got posts, pages, and categories. So let's go back and turn this back on and give that a refresh, which it's not working because I probably don't have any templates for it to show, but that's okay. But it will show up here saying templates. So you just got to make sure that you've turned off all of the things that you don't want. And you can see each blog post in there. So just make sure that you're only wanting to put in your sitemap what you want to be indexed. Anything you don't want to be indexed, make sure it's not in there. And what that does as well is if you tick no index to this template, it not only doesn't put it in your sitemap, it adds the no index tag instead of to your whole site, like the settings page did where it said discourage search engines. It turns off all of those templates from showing up in search results. And search results and what's indexed is kind of a little bit different to your sitemap because Google doesn't really pay attention to your sitemap anyway. They kind of look at it and go, okay, that's what they're suggesting we should index. But then they scan your site and decide what they want to index anyway. So just make sure you've no index to things that you don't want to show. So next, and as I said, make sure you do all the archives. So make sure you no index the templates archive. Search archives, 404 archives, you can decide whether you want to keep those or not. Taxonomies, so categories, tags, Beaver Builder categories, make sure they're all no indexed as well. And the last thing I wanted to show is social accounts. So you can add all of your social accounts here. That's the open graph that I was talking about on the right-hand side there. So that's kind of just adding all your social networks and they can show up there, but that's more for bigger companies that do get lucky enough to have one of those. Although you can turn on your Facebook and Twitter open graph data and what that does and all of your knowledge graph stuff, that's kind of just helpful when sharing links on social media. So just to answer that question, is SEO Press free to use or not? I think they have a light version. But the pro version is like $39 a month for all of their features, so all of their local SEO, WooCommerce SEO, all of their advanced features, and it's $39 a month for as many sites as you want, unlimited. $39 a year, sorry, not a month. But they do have the free version, I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, there's no harm in using Yoast either. It's not using one SEO plugin over another SEO plugin isn't going to make your site better or worse, because it's up to how you configure it anyway. Yoast I don't use Yoast because it's very expensive to get all of their premium features. I think it's like Yoast Premium is like $89 a year. Yoast for WooCommerce is another $50 a year. Yoast for local is another $50 or $60 a year, and it just keeps adding up. Where SEO Press has all of those in one plugin for $39 a year for unlimited sites, and Yoast is for one site. That price is for one site, and I work on a lot of sites, so it makes it better for me. So that's kind of it, I guess. That brings it to the end. Is there any questions or anything anyone wanted to show me? Is anyone using Rank Math? I've heard good things about that plugin. I haven't tried it myself, but I've heard good things about it. Maybe they might be better than SEO Press in the future. I don't know. Maybe they already are. Are there any other questions that people wanted to ask? Or Will, did you want to come in and ask questions, or did you have anything you wanted to ask either?
No, I think that was a good overview of how SEO Press can be used. I think it's important to know not just to install these plugins, but to actually go through the setup like James has done, and make sure that all these settings are switched on and switched off, because it will really, really improve your SEO and your ranking.
Yeah.
Here's another question, James.
Oh, yeah. If you use an SEO plugin like change theme, does it affect SEO? Theme change shouldn't affect your SEO because the content on your page doesn't really change, but it would still have some effect, yes, because it changes how the code of that page is generated. And if it's, let's say your site's doing really well and you change your theme, the code of your website changes a little bit, even though the content's still the same, then it might, I would say it probably would impact it a little bit, yeah. Does having Google AdWords help with your organic search ranking? Not at all.
No.
There's no research or data to say that's true, and a lot of people smarter than both Will and I have tested that, and I haven't seen any correlation there.
I would say look at the word help. Probably having too much Google AdWords on the page, you're getting into the usability and readability of the page. So having too much stuff on there could adversely affect your ranking as well. I mean, Google loves the AdWords, but if you plaster it all over the place, then people are just going to get sick of reading your content and go elsewhere. So yeah, it could have a negative effect if you're using it in a bad way.
Add expire headers for things like fonts may be complicated. It's a bit more of an advanced question. Did you want to answer it, Will? Yeah,
sure. So what they're asking here is there's different levels of caching. There's different levels of making your website go faster. So you can pay lots of money for a good host, and they've got a great infrastructure on Google Cloud or whatever, and that'll make it go faster. You can use tools like Cloudflare, which is a global CDN, which will serve content to the local people faster. They would be coming all the way from where your website is located. You can make that go faster. Things like add expire headers. You're telling the server, you're telling the browser that they shouldn't cache, or they should cache particular items like fonts and CSS and JavaScript files for X amount of time. So you can make your site go faster by using these things like expire headers, which says, for example, if you set images to expire after a week, then that means that you're telling your browser to cache all those images from your site for a week before it then goes and has a look for a new one. So that could speed up your site. It's got some good advantages for the speed, but it's got some disadvantages if your content changes a lot. Because if the browser caches your stuff for a week and then you change your stuff within that week, then your browser is just going to serve the old content all the time until that expiry happens and it refreshes again. So yes, it's worthwhile looking into. A little bit more complicated in advance, but yeah, every little thing helps, especially with page load speeds. Let's see. Here's Mr. Meowpoos. I love that name. Okay.
So there may have been some other things that were changed. I think that's a follow-on question to if you use an SEO plugin like Yoast and then change your theme, does it affect your SEO? So I'd look at what exactly was changed on the page. Maybe your links were changed and you didn't add redirects or some things like that. If it's like often when I get SEO clients come on board and their theme is pants and lots of errors and it's broken and there's JavaScript errors, I'll rebuild the site exactly the same, in terms of look of content, just in Beaver Builder, and make sure that I haven't changed any links, and then that way I've got a good place to start and then start doing work from there to increase it. So it shouldn't if you do it properly.
Yes. There you go. Answered that one. That's quickly. Can you use negative keywords? Of course, if that's who your target audience is. There's different ways of writing copy. So you can write copy that is happy. You can write copy that's psychological as well. When you start writing psychologically, then yeah, you can use negative keywords to imbue a sense of maybe fear, maybe cause, concern, problems, to highlight the problem that your service or product can then solve for them. So yeah, definitely you can use negative keywords, but just bear in mind to create a good balance between that. So use the negative keywords to highlight problems and issues that then you write in your copy positive content about how you can then solve that problem. And here's the solution. Here's the products that I would then recommend that you use or buy to get rid of your problem. So yeah, you definitely can use negative keywords.
Just on that same one again, negative keywords is also, which I'm not really sure what the question means exactly. It could be what Wil means. But it could also mean like when you do paid ads in Google Ads or Google AdWords, you can have negative keywords, which you can say, I don't want my page to show for this keyword. So that's more of a paid feature. You can't do that with organic. Google decides what keywords you want to rank for anyway.
Joey, post title matters a lot for SEO. Yes, it does. If I write exactly how people ask things, yeah, I mean, that's basically what I was covering. If your content matches what people are typing in, then yeah, it's going to have a better ranking factor for that. And especially if there's a mismatch between the title and the copy, yeah, that's no good. That's no good. Yeah. So yeah, have a good think about your titles. They need to be engaging. They need to be relevant to the copy. And they need to be concise and to the point so that people get a complete idea as exactly what they are then going to read when they click on that link. So yeah, that's a great question.
And the reason why, I guess, it's not good if there's a mismatch is because if, let's say, I mean, Google is pretty fair, really. If someone clicks on, like for example, just as an example, if you have a new page on your site or you have a new site, Google might put you up into the top 10 just to see how you go. See, does this person deserve to be number 6? And if your title says how to, I'll just use that, how can we use negative keywords in SEO? And then the content talks about negative keywords in ads. And that's a mismatch, and people click on it and go, well, this wasn't what I was looking for, and then bounce and go back. So it's if people are clicking the link and scrolling down to maybe top of page 2, position 12, people are clicking the link and then really engaging with that and clicking through to other pages and maybe reading the full article, because Google can tell if you are or not, then they'll go, well, hang on, people actually enjoy this a lot more. So then let's bump it up to maybe position 6 and things like that.
Okay, it looks like we might have lost the feed. It's saying an error occurred. Please try later. So we might have went over our limit. I didn't think so, but oh no, we're still there. Yep, so we're still live. Maybe just refresh. If people have lost the feed, maybe just refresh the browser. It should be all right. Yeah, okay, yeah, we refreshed and came back. Yeah, me too. Okay, we've got one question here, general one. Any plugins you recommend for e-commerce store with WooCommerce?
Is that in relation to SEO?
Yeah, is that in relation to SEO? Probably. Well, I mean, I'm a Yoast person, so I use Yoast. Yes, it covers custom post types, which is what products are in WooCommerce. So if you have a look in the Yoast settings, and I presume it'll be the same for SEO Press, you'll find that you'll be able to change your products, the titles, and what data is shown to the search engines with those. So yeah, Yoast, SEO Press, maybe the other one that the other person mentioned as well. Outside that,
the premium version of Yoast for WooCommerce, Will?
Yeah, premium version.
Yeah, the premium one also does like schema, and it puts your price up and things like that. So sometimes if you're in the search results page, you see a 5-star rating. That's kind of like the pro SEO plugins that take that rating from your page and put it onto Google, essentially.
Yeah. Lincoln, any advice on how to reach out for backlinks? I think I'm going to defer that for this talk because that's quite a complicated subject in its own right. We might write an article about that. We might host that as another meeting.
I can do a low-hanging fruit answer for that.
Yeah, go for it.
If you go find out what your competitors, go to your competitor's site, see which sites are linking to your competitors, and then steal them. And you can use Ahrefs, which is a pretty cool tool to do that.
Can you do SEO for Shopify sites, or is it best to have a website? Okay, I'll come straight out of the box with this to say Shopify sites. It's a box that you get. So if you do Shopify, if you do Wix and Squarespace, you get a set box, and you can only do the things that they allowed you to do. So whatever settings Shopify allows you to do for SEO, that's it. With the WordPress website, you have freedom to output your products or anything the way you want it to be, and that's why a lot of people choose WordPress, because it's so flexible. So look at all the settings that James went through for SEO Press. That's like 20 minutes of just settings. So Shopify, you don't get that. You'll get meta, you'll get description, you'll get some keywords. That's it. So for WordPress, having a separate website, I would say you have pretty much free control over the information that you can present to Google and the other search engines, whereas Shopify and all these other hosted solutions, I think, is very limited. James, got anything to add to that?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, in the question, is it best to have a website? A Shopify site is a website. It's just a very controlled and limiting website. Where WordPress, you kind of have a bit more control over things. The only exception to that is like Shopify Plus and their enterprise solutions. You have a lot more control over your code, but you can't just easily install WP Rocket, and it's all code based for the most part. There are a few extensions.
We might do a couple more questions, then we'll see if we can finish. So here's one. Andrew, what's the best way if you want to update an existing post? How would that affect SEO? Do you leave the same dates or update the dates too? That's a great question.
So it's a good way. It's a good to update existing posts, keep your content fresh. Often a few sites, or a lot of sites that I've seen, they talk the client saying, "Oh, we need to get more blog posts. We need to do this. We need to create new content." But they often have pretty good content already. It's just gone stale. So I would not change all of it. Update it for recent times. Maybe add a bit at the top saying updated, and then use the modified date and display the modified date to update it, to change the date. But it doesn't really matter how you do it. You can change the published date, and it wouldn't really have an impact. But yeah,
I would say definitely do this. Use your Google Analytics and have a look at the old posts, the posts that are not getting any traction. Take that post, do a search for your main keyword, have a look at the top 3 posts that are coming in Google, the top 3 results. Read through them, don't copy them, but essentially you just blast them out of the water. Update your old content and just make it 10 times better than those 3. And then you should see some traction for that old content going back up, because Google likes fresh content. Yep. Okay, so all the old stuff that's on your website, Google doesn't care about that anymore. So you might as well go back and change it, update it for new stuff. And I go with James to say use the modified date, updated date, and put that in along rather than the published date.
And maybe this is a bit more of an advanced technique, but you can also get rid of old content as well. So make sure de-index the old content, and there's different ways to do that to make room for new content if you don't want to update an existing one.
Yeah, or 404 redirect it to the new posts that you've written.
301.
Yeah, 301. Yeah. Okay, guys, I think that's going to be it for tonight. It's 8 o'clock.
I love that. I love the last comment there. Thanks, guys. Brilliant info. And the fridge is only 30 seconds away.
Yeah, I can hear the wine calling. Yeah. Thanks so much for you guys for joining. I think we had about 80 people at one point join in, which is fantastic. Awesome. Glad that you could join in and listen to us waffle away for a couple of hours. Please, everyone, stay safe. Listen to what the government's saying. Don't go out unless you really need to go out. Don't gather in public spaces with other people. Don't have house parties. Just use common sense. Buy some toilet paper, though, if you can find it. I think we're running a bit low. Other than that, we're going to try and arrange something similar for next month. I think this worked pretty well, even though James didn't have any control over the presentation style. I could change it all from here. He had no control.
Yeah, I can't do that. You're special.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments. Let us know on the Meetup page if you thought this was useful, if you thought it was good, if we can do anything better for next time.
It'd be really good to get some feedback, because I have found it a little bit weird that I don't get the immediate feedback when I'm talking.
Yeah.
So I'm just waffling on. I don't know if that's answering a question or a bit weird.
Yeah, there's no hecklers.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Okay, guys, we shall say ta-ta. Have a look on the Meetup page for the next one, and we'll post these slides up to Facebook and the Meetup page. And yes, this will be available on YouTube to look back whenever you want to. Okay, so thanks, James. Kookaburra, yep. We had some good sound effects. So thank you, guys. Thank you, James, for joining. Thank you, guys, for your time. Go grab a beer, grab some wine, and we'll see you next time. Okay.
Sounds good.
Ciao.
Thank you, everyone.